This hand of the week is another from the 10k EPT Mystery Bounty in Prague. 2 players have been eliminated, and after the bounties have been drawn, the Mystery Bounty value has decreased slightly to 32,500 euros, but its chip value has risen slightly to 550,000 chips, because the bounties are now worth a larger proportion of the remaining prize pool. And 550,000 chips is considerably more than the button, small blind and big blind stacks. So Gutierrez here under the gun will be opening very wide because he wants a chance to target the 4 short stacks that are behind him. He does have the chip leader to his left, but Vasilchenko has shown that he isn't going after bounties as aggressively as he should. And Kashiwabara, who is the short stack at the table, decides to go with it with the pocket 4s and his 6 big blinds. And unfortunately for him, he runs into the aces of Gutierrez. So if we plug this hand into Hold'em Resources calculator, if we give the under the gun player a very wide range like this, you can see against that range, pocket 4s is a bad shove from the small blind. And the main reason for that is not because of ICM, it's because the big blind is incentivized to call very wide behind, and that way we're going to end up 3 ways to the flop, and pocket 4s performs very poorly in a multi-way pot. The reason the big blind is incentivized to go after the small blind so wide is because the bounties are worth 32,500 euros, whereas the pay jump from 6th to 5th is only 5,000 euros. And even when the big blind does bust, if the under the gun player scoops, then he'll still ladder up a spot. You can see that Queen Jack suited is a better shove for the small blind, and that's because it performs better multi-way. And that's even though the Queen Jack suited has worse equity heads up against the under the gun player compared with pocket 4s. However, it might be that it's unrealistic to expect the big blind to know that he should go this wide. If the big blind's very tight and decides just to 4-bet shove with a very tight range and just try and ladder up a spot, in that case we can 3-bet shove pocket 4s as the small blind, because we're going to end up heads up most of the time, and it performs perfectly well against a loose under the gun range. We can see that the under the gun player calls his full range against the small blind shove, and that's because with the bounty being worth a lot more than the small blind stack, he's just getting too good of a price with all his hands. He only needs about 15% equity. You can see he also calls his full range against the big blind's 7.5 big blind shove. He calls his full range against the button's 11.5 big blind shove. It's only when we get to the 15.5 big blind stack of the cutoff that we start to fold some of our worse opens, like ace deuce off, king 9 off, and even then we're still calling almost our whole range.